Oh my gosh! That right there, what we just saw the Colts do against the Raiders, that was a ferocious win at Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, they just flat out assaulted the Raiders yesterday. Some would say, in fact, that what the Colts just did to the Raiders is the most violent act that took place in downtown Indianapolis this weekend. Now, is it too soon to make a joke like that? Is it in poor taste? Most likely, okay? But at the same time, we're just making some funnies. We're messing around. We're having fun over here. It's a Victory Monday. The Colts are 4-1, and with the Bills' loss last night, as it currently stands, you're talking about the number one seed in the AFC. Now, of course, there's a whole lot of season left, but you want to talk about a team bouncing back in a big way. The Indianapolis Colts, I mean, unbelievable. Now, listen, I don't want to make it like it's something it's not, okay? We came into this game saying that if the Colts were who we thought they were, they would win that game handily. And then particularly once we heard that Brock Bowers was out, we're like, okay, Colts by 100. And while they didn't quite win by 100, at the same time, what we learned about them is not only are the Colts who we thought they were, but hell, they may be even better. Now, I know that's not the best level of competition, but at the same time, I mean, between the Dolphins, the Titans, the Raiders, there's something to be said about making a team that's that bad look that bad. And there's just so much to take away from this game if you're a Colts fan, but perhaps no one thing greater than the fact that this Indianapolis Colts team this year is just not fucking around. They're taking no prisoners. I mean, so many times in the past have we seen this Colts team play down to their competition, and this game was like just a perfect opportunity for them to do just that, and they absolutely refused to fall in to that trap. And to me personally, it just furthers the narrative that I really felt was one of the bigger ones coming into this season that kind of defines who the Colts are in 2025. You look at all the pieces in place for this team coming into this year, right? Shane Steichen, Chris Ballard, their jobs on the line coming into the season. Of course, the daughters take over the team following the death of the big man. Rest in peace, Jim Irsay. You know how important this season was to them. Daniel Jones, at a point in his career when he joined the Colts, he's on his last stand in terms of having a chance to be a starting quarterback in this league. Michael Pittman Jr., Quentin Nelson, Grover Stewart, Jonathan Taylor, Kenny Moore, guys like Charvarius Ward. You have a bunch of guys that are either in their prime, on the back end of that prime, or so deep into their tenure with the Indianapolis Colts and so linked to this regime who, again, whose jobs are kind of on thin ice coming into this year, it is really just now or never for so many pieces in this organization, for the majority of this organization. And you just see that energy, right? You see that energy show up in games like this, where despite the fact that they're absolutely handling the other team, they just don't let their foot off the gas. It's all gas, no brakes for the Indianapolis Colts. And you can just tell that this is a team all around that is just tired of coming up short. And it's just so rare that you have a group of coaches, a group of players, all pointed in the same direction, all aligned in the sense that none of them can afford to let up. And the adversity that this team has been through, this organization has been through, collectively, together, have shaped what it is that we see out of them today, this season, and hopefully kind of into the future, right? It's made for a really special start to the season. And again, I think we can expect it to continue. The question is, though, I believe it, but are you starting to believe it, Colts Nation? Are you believing that this team can make a deep run into the playoffs? Because quite frankly, I think you should. Now, I want to go over some of the other takeaways from this game, other than what it is that I just said, most of which are great, a couple of which a little bit less great. But before we get into all that, you know what it is. I got to introduce the show. My name is Justin. This right here is the Ride the Bench Colts podcast. As always, ask anyone watching and enjoying the show. Go ahead, shoot a like. It's going to help me get out to as many Colts fans as humanly possible. Of course, subscribe if you want to be a part of the journey. We're on our way to 4,000 subscribers over here on the YouTube channel. So if you keep coming back, enjoying the show, perhaps it's your first day here and you enjoy my poorly timed jokes, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Never miss an episode again. Of course, audio listeners, leave a five-star review. Let the people know how much you're enjoying what it is that we're doing over here. But most importantly, be civil in the comments section. You don't know what the person on the other end of the keyboard is going through today. Of course, I don't expect there to be all that much argument, all that much negativity in the comment section, because how can there possibly be after what it is that we just saw from this team? So without further ado, let's get back into the regularly scheduled programming and talk a little bit about the takeaways from this game. And I just really want to start on the offensive side of the ball. Not that there's anything here that is like a major piece of insight, right? Like it's obvious when you look at this offense that things are going the right way. And Daniel Jones, I got to say, he fits so well into what it is that Shane Steichen likes to do offensively that I guess I don't want to say it's a surprise that a lot of people didn't see it coming, because obviously up to this point in his career, he hadn't exactly been smooth sailing. But man, you just go back to what Shane Steichen did with the Philadelphia Eagles, with Jalen Hurts. And it was just all predicated on that quick passing game, that efficient West Coast type of football where you just get the ball out quick and it's on time and on schedule. And that's what you want to do. You use the quarterback's mobility a little bit and all of that. Daniel Jones' skill set just fits right in to what it is that Shane Steichen wants to do. And it's something special to watch, but it's not just about the coaching and it's not just about Daniel Jones. The players this team has in place right now on this offense just also lend themselves to that style of football. I mean, you look at guys like Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Tyler Warren. Of course, there's other names, but those guys specifically, in terms of their skill set, in terms of what they bring to an offense, it really lends itself to that style of football where you're just trying to, some people would call it dink and dunk. I call it efficient football. Like, that's what you want. Tom Brady, don't get me wrong, he had some great throws down the field, and you have bombs to Randy Moss, all this stuff. But where he made his money was getting that ball out in 2.5 seconds or less and just taking what was right in front of him, that easy stuff. It was the stuff that the Colts weren't doing last year. And instead, now you have Daniel Jones completing over 70% of his passes. I mean, he's out there like Drew Brees, for goodness sake. Drew Brees with legs. I mean, you got to absolutely be kidding me. And when Steichen was first hired for this team, his famous quote in his introductory press conference was this idea of throwing to score and running to win. And it was a little bit of a cliche at the time, and it definitely still is, but we did wonder what it actually meant. And for the first time, I think we're starting to see what it means. I mean, you could just see the way this team likes to really establish that rhythm through the air early and then just wear you down on the ground as the game goes on. It's just incredible offense that you're seeing from the Indianapolis Colts, the best offense we've seen since Peyton Manning. And there was some good stuff that happened with Andrew Luck, particularly when Bruce Arians took over in the interim for Chuck Pagano. But I mean, I've been a fan of this team. I'm 28 years old, basically only during the good times, right? Of course, you could count some of the Ballard times as dark times, whatever it is that you want to say about that. Conversation for a different day. But this is like the most complete offense I've ever seen them have, primarily because, yes, you have great quarterback play, but it's not just about the quarterback. Like with Peyton Manning, with Andrew Luck, yes, you had guys like Joseph Adai and Edgerrin James and all that stuff, but it was kind of predicated on the fact that you were going to air it out. The Colts on any given day can throw it all over you, and they can run it down your throat. I mean, the Colts are as complete of an offense as you can possibly find in this league. In this game, you had 6 straight touchdown drives. I didn't even know that. Like, I knew they were playing well, but it wasn't until I watched Shane Steichen's locker room speech that I heard that. They have a plus 74 point differential on the year. Or in other words, they've outscored their opponents by a total of 74 points this year. It's just hard to fathom, really. I mean, do you know how good that is over the course of 5 games? It's nearly unheard of. So you have a top 3 scoring team with the Bills and the Lions. In the words of the great Joey motherfucking Diaz, absolutely tremendous from the Indianapolis Colts. Some players that I want to call out specifically on the offensive side of the ball. Ashton Dulin, talk about taking advantage of an opportunity. It is so awesome to see a guy like him come in and make this type of impact with how selfless he's been, with how long he's been here, and how well he's played his role and settled for that role. Not in the sense settling where you're complacent, but just kind of understanding where he fit into the grander structure of this football team. He just took that wide receiver 4 position by storm. As much as I love A.D. Mitchell, his time will come at some point for this Indianapolis Colts team. We have not seen the last of that guy, and I'm talking in a good way, not a bad way. When you are this team right now, this season, you need guys that you can trust on the field as much as you possibly can. And Dulin is that guy that's going to be behind Alec Pierce when he gets back from the concussion protocol. Excellent to see him do that type of work. Tyler Warren, is he already one of the top 3 tight ends in football? What he brings to the Indianapolis Colts right now is hard to even quantify. It's hard to even put into words. But I'm just sitting here. I genuinely can't even name someone I would rather have right now in all of the NFL, period. George Kittle, maybe when he's healthy. I guess Brock Bowers. I don't know. Fuck that. I'm going Warren. His versatility is just rare. I mean, this is a flat out football player who not only just does it traditionally as a tight end in terms of catching, running routes, blocking, but the way you're able to line him up all over the place. I mean, the Colts just continue to layer in what they ask him to do, and he just handles it so gracefully. You would think he's a 5, 6, 7-year pro. He's one of the best football players that this team has to offer. Make no mistake about it. And he's only 5 games into his young career. Obviously, the body of work is not there. And Dallas Clark is one of my all-time favorite Indianapolis Colts, period. I mean, the way he'd come out there with no gloves, the whole bit. I mean, Dallas Clark's my guy. Tyler Warren, if you just want to take his talent in a vacuum, what he can do, he might be the best tight end that I've ever seen on the Indianapolis Colts. And I don't say it lightly, and I certainly don't say it to try to have some sort of recency bias. Everything he does is just so impressive. It's so impressive. Other notes on the offensive side of the ball. Josh Downs. The Colts have so many guys, right, on this offense, from Jonathan Taylor to the offensive line, which is a weapon in of its own right. And then, of course, the guys I mentioned, Pittman, Alec Pierce when he's on the field, Tyler Warren, all of these guys. Josh Downs is a piece that if you're a defensive coordinator, if you're a defense as a whole, it's really easy for him to kind of get lost in the mix of what it is that the Colts are doing. And then all of a sudden you have a day like today where the team kind of, they don't forget about him per se, but what are you going to do? Double team him? I mean, you can't do that. And he's the type of guy that's going to make you pay. And the Colts are very lucky to have him. I also thought this offense did a great job on Max Crosby, really outside of that first drive, which was the only hiccup for this team this game. The Raiders coming into this game, you have to understand, had a 39 sack streak coming into this game. 39 straight games, they had sacked the opposing quarterback. The Colts just broke that streak. It's just added to the list of accomplishments that this team is stacking up early in this season. On the defensive side of the ball, I thought with all the injuries they had coming into the day, let alone Mike Hilton also leaving, Xavier Howard retiring, I thought a pretty good day from them, all things considered. Obviously, you hold the team to 6 points. That's great. But Mekhi Blackman, number 29, coming in, starting for the first time, he played really, really well with his opportunity. We're probably going to dive into some film on him this week because I was literally sitting there watching this game, and I was like, he's playing good football. And then I think a lot of people talking about he slipped on that 33-yarder to Trey Tucker, but then made up for it with the interception. And I was glad to see him do that because it made my case much easier to make. I thought he came out there and listen, he allowed some completions, but in terms of kind of how quick he was to react, how quick he was to close on the football, I thought he kind of served as an immediate upgrade to Xavier Howard. And it's very, very rare that a guy can retire and your secondary ends up better for it, right? And right now, the Colts are kind of there. Of course, you want guys like Kenny Moore back and Jalen Jones back, but Blackman went out there and showed, okay, he could make a little bit of an impact for this team, and we'll kind of see how that progresses. Nick Cross continues to show just how great he is. I believe it was from the very first drive he made his impact felt. He just went in there and give a little bit of the nasty, right, to Ashton Genty. I mean, he's an awesome football player. And I don't know really like the landscape of the league in terms of who the safeties are and who's producing what. But I would have to guess you're hard pressed to find a guy that's making more of an impact that you can see on the screen week in and week out than Nick Cross. I mean, he's just someone that individually as a player just sticks out. And he's kind of like one of these hard-nosed players. We haven't seen a safety that could come in and lay a hit like him. I guess Mike Adams was that guy too. But I don't know, like Bob Sanders. I mean, this is a nasty, nasty football player that you have here, Nick Cross, and a young one as well. I hope they keep him for a very, very long time. Now, if we're to switch over to the negative side real quick, one of them's not even really the Colts' fault. Spencer Schrader, that's brutal action, right? Absolutely brutal. They had finally found some stability at that position, and we don't know exactly what that is as I record it, but it didn't look good, right? It looked really, really bad. When you're on your back and you have guys taking knees all around you, that's never a good situation to be in. They had some dude competing with him kind of early in training camp, and I forget his name. So I would expect that he comes back around and you get a workout out of him, and probably a bunch of other kickers come in. They're going to have to find something there because you can't roll in without a kicker, right? That just is what it is. Obviously, this week they didn't kick the field goals. I think to some degree, one, they didn't know what Rigoberto Sanchez's range was, but two, and even more importantly, what were you going to do holding the kick, right? Like you can't just figure that out on the fly. Rigoberto Sanchez is the guy that holds the kick. Anthony Richardson's probably never done it in his life. And of course, you don't want to have your starting quarterback in there doing it. So that's that. Quick sip of water. So that's one negative. And then the other negative, which is the most obvious negative. Linebacker right now, outside of Zaire Franklin, seems to be a problem for the Indianapolis Colts. Joe Bocci was a guy that I think we had high hopes for coming into the year because he was pretty good in training camp and preseason. He kind of showed some good stuff. He absolutely melted down in this game. I'm not sure if I've ever seen someone grab a guy's face mask and stick his leg out to trip him at the same exact time. I've never seen that in my life, but it's the type of play that I don't know if it's a sign of frustration with your play. I don't know what it is, but you know, you can't have it, right? Like you never see that type of thing, and there's a reason for it because guys who would do that type of thing probably aren't on the field. So I don't know what the hell that was and what's going on at the will linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts, but they got to figure it out. Presumably, I would expect some guys to come in this week and work out there. Number 55, Chad Muma. Is that how you pronounce his name? I'm not super familiar with his game, quite frankly. 4-year pro out of Wyoming. He got some snaps in there with the starters. This is before they put the backups in. With the starters late in that game. Perhaps he'll get a crack at it next week, but I'm not entirely sure the Colts have the guy that they need on their roster right there. Sagan Olabi is a guy, and the blocked punt from him, excellent. He's a guy I've been high on since the very first time I laid eyes on him at training camp, just because of how physical he was. Like, I think he's a dog. I think he's the type of guy that you want on your defense. He's a guy that's going to lay the lumber. But is his skill set fit to be a will linebacker for this team? I don't think so personally, and clearly, based off the fact that he hasn't gotten a crack at it, the Colts don't see it that way either. So that's really the biggest thing coming out of this game for the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, they have to get healthy. Yes, you have to find the kicker, but these things will sort themselves out. Hopefully, the kicker, we don't know. But the linebacker position, what are they going to do there? I expect them to be active in some capacity, whether it's making some calls in the trade market. Perhaps it's just bringing some guys in to work out. Do they have anyone on the practice squad? I don't really know, but that's something they have to work out. And that is what it is. But overall, I mean, basically all good for the Indianapolis Colts. And that's an episode. Like, subscribe if you have not yet. My name is Justin. This right here is the Riding the Bench Colts podcast. And as always, my gosh, go Colts.